As an agri-entrepreneur, you need resilience and the courage and the passion to be able to do what you do and do it well. And once you have that, chances are you are bound to succeed. My name is Peter, Director, Kuse Farm. We are heritage turkey farmers. Have you ever tried heritage turkey meat? This is my story. My turkey farming journey began about 17 years ago, and it was kind of by accident. My better half just found a neighbor with turkeys and geese, and then she decided just to order for some turkeys. It was not my intention to do turkey farming initially. So with the 3 turkeys that were brought, because whoever brought me the 3 young poults, I didn't even know they were called poults at that time. I just assumed they were small baby turkeys or chicks. I brought them around and I decided to take care of them and rear them. One died, I was left with 2. One was male, the other one was female. And then now I just decided to go ahead, and not knowing anything about turkeys, I assumed also, like everybody else would, since they have feathers, they're chicken. So my first set matured, they gave me eggs. And then fortunately or unfortunately, I was so happy, but all the poults that hatched, because I think she gave me 12 eggs, and I think about 10 eggs did hatch, but within 1 week, all the 10 poults had died. But still, since there was the next cycle, I decided to say, fine, I will see what happens the next cycle. And then I got a chance to meet many farmers who also had turkeys where I encountered a turkey, but they only had 1 or 2 pieces. So most of the biggest complaint was that they are very difficult birds to rear. I did not have enough space, because my initial mistake is I combined the turkey when they really first came with chicken. So I decided to isolate the turkeys and the chicken that I had. I began putting up space for the turkeys now that are about 10 in number. And this time I promised myself those poults will not die. Some of them did die, but out of the 10 that I got, I managed to at least bring up about 5 or 4. Not knowing the exact plan, but with a very sketchy plan that if I have 10, I can have 100, and if I have 100, where do I take the 100, and how do I even take the 100? And even if I have got, where do I even take the thousands? Because once you begin the multiplication factor, you really want to move to the highest point you can actually reach. I decided to spend time on documentation. Anything strange I found, I documented. Turkey's principles are not the same as chicken principles in any way. It's the opposite, literally flip side of the coin. I just came and found one time almost 14 eggs and wondered what magic has taken place. I wondered what could be wrong, because something is not, yesterday there were no eggs, today we find there are many eggs. And even before that, we found another thing that was also very strange. We found a number of females who were crouching on the ground, and they were not even moving. I thought probably they were not well, they were sick, only to come and realize that the way they mount is very much opposite to the way chicken do. The female chooses the partner, and when she is ready to be mounted, she crouches for the partner to mount. And the male all the time must display himself. All the time they are strutting their feathers aside and trying to display how their tail feathers look like, to try and impress the head. If the female does not like the male, she will not accept the male to mount. My day begins quite early in the morning. Reasons: 1, we've got to check for disease. The best place to check for disease is in the droppings, because all of them have slept on patches. Those are good indicators to show that the droppings are good. Then from there is actually the cleaning of the pens. The utensils and the troughs must all have been cleaned, and then fresh water is put onto them for them. Feed is given into them, and if there's going to be any medication or anything, then that happens in the morning. And now they feed actually 3 times in a day. That's morning, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Reasons for now, the 12 o'clock is specifically between that time we give them greens. That is something added. It cuts slightly on the feed that you've actually given them, and it actually makes them much healthier. The 4 o'clock feeding is very crucial. All birds, once they about to go patching to sleep, they have all the time to make sure that their crop is fully loaded with feed. The volume of the birds that I had to be gotten rid of in some way. There's no point of having something that, and you have really no plan of how you're going to get rid of them. And look at the consumption of turkey meat in Kenya, it's not the very best. So my question now to myself was, how do I get the Kenyan to still consume the turkey? This is a high-end meat. I realized from some restaurant that I took 2 turkeys, I think they consumed it almost for 1 year. So looking at my market, I had to have my target market. These 14-point-something million Kenyans who are in the middle class and in the urban setup. So to get them, to introduce them to having to eat turkey, I had to make sure I break the bird into sections. And breaking the bird, I mean I had to make sure I get a way that I can use the whole bird and have it spread to more Kenyans. Hence, as a result, I went into processing. With the principle of eating healthy, I had to think of something that will still keep my heritage, which is the kienyeji bird. Even if I'm going to process, I'm going to process it to break it down to the Kenyan to consume, more Kenyans to consume in small bits and pieces, but still to try and maintain healthy eating. The other products that we decided to make was sausages, which seemed rather easier to make. Well, it had its process, not knowing. I still had to learn how to make sausages. I realized that there's no way I can only have one product. That was sausage. Well, unfortunately, thanks to COVID, there was a period of no work to do. So we decided to do what we call product development. There are people who are sensitive on gluten, such that anything to do with wheat, they would not eat, because whatever other sausages use as binders would be having wheat products, and that now would hinder them from eating the sausages. So we looked into all that. So developing among the products that we had to develop were gluten-free binders, and our sausages can be consumed by anybody. And then we also had to get a taste and a flavor and a culture of ours. We realized now people consume one very common thing that is around in some areas, pizza joints. So I said to myself, why don't I make a product that could be used as a topping for pizzas? So now we have sausages can be used as topping for pizzas, the meat. We've developed now salamis. And now one that we've really not put out in the market is one known as mortadella. Once you begin processing and you want to deal with now the customers, there is an aspect that is very critical and very important. Initially, I really assumed and just thought it was a matter for the big players, only to realize that it can also be dangerous. So we had to get ourselves certified by KEBS. So they gave us the standards that we were to follow and check what is required in the production of any product that we have done. So we've been able to, personally I would say for Kusev, we are standardized, we are certified KEBS producers. When it comes to standardization and working with KEBS, it has been a very awesome journey, because I literally now realize why standardization is necessary in anything that is manufactured or produced. Because I realize now, I feel comfortable that whatever I'm giving out there is safe for consumption. Kusev Farm, I have a saying that says, I consume my birds 100%. Once we butcher the bird, all the feathers are collected, disinfected, and stored. One thing, we use a process known as dry plucking in order to save the feathers. The feathers, we use them to make different type of ornaments and jewelry that are very gorgeous. The insides, of course, go to our animals. That is the insides of the bird. The liver and the gizzard goes to the customer. The eggshells that do not have faults in them, also we do not throw them. We open them up, clean them, disinfect them, and make items. And one major item that we do with eggshell is making candle lamps. The feather department has created jobs for a few individuals who are able to feed themselves and do something. And then there's a new product in terms of jewelry in the market. And also the customer is also seeing something different out there. Turkey meat as it is expensive. The market outside, we really must look for the market so as not to have the birds too long. Reasons being, the longer they stay, the more expensive it's going to be. But you've also going to do it at the right time when they're mature. It's about maximum, we give it 1 year. Yes, because within 8 months they're supposed to be mature, ready to, and that's the time we can get older stock and replace them with now the much younger stock that we want to be able now to send for the next 2-3 seasons. Turkey meat is currently we sell at 1,150 shillings a kilo, and this is per whole bird. We don't butcher such that we don't take drumsticks, the breast in part. Once somebody wants a whole turkey, he gets it whole with the giblets, that's the gizzards, the liver, and the neck. Based on my experience, somebody who wants to go into turkey farming, first and foremost is understand or get a training from somebody like I who has gone through the journey. You're not reinventing the wheel, because you'll only repeat the same mistakes that I did. And to avoid that, the best thing is to have the courage and the willing to do it, because it is not a cheap affair, it's quite an expensive affair. And to go through it, you just need the courage. That was my agribusiness story. What is your story? Share it.